Hello, this is Susan Dentel from Faculty Professional Development, and here with me today is Jason Withrow. And Jason is going to share some of his courses and talk about teaching.
Okay, so I'm one of the full-time faculty for Internet Professional. That's my discipline, my program area. And the class I'm going to actually focus on most today is IMP 153. It's called Designing User Experience 1. And what I have up here is my instructional website. So part of being in the internet area, I have my own website. I do use Blackboard for some things in the course, but not a lot. I tend to kind of manage my own material separate from Blackboard, and I use Blackboard for the things that it really is ideal for, at least for me, and that's gradebook and testing. That tends to be where I use it because it gives an easy way to grade things and, frankly, a nice secure area for students to check their grades. So this course, the what I tell students in this course is that you'll never see websites the same after you complete the course. There's as long as you do the work and you are there for the class, I can guarantee that you're going to see the world differently when you are done, because a lot of the course is about critical evaluation, really thinking about what makes a good website. And you're probably not familiar with the term user experience, but what user experience really refers to is the quality of your experience, the quality of your interaction with the website. If things made sense, if finding what you wanted to find and doing what you wanted to do was intuitive, that was a good user experience. That's what we want. If it was confusing, frustrating, if you hit your computer or kicked your computer along the way, that was clearly a bad user experience. And a lot of the course is understanding what makes a good user experience. And sometimes we look at things that are bad and critique them. And other times we're learning best practices and then implementing those along the way. So that's really the nature of this course. But the process of learning user experience and learning what is good and what is bad, it fundamentally changes how people see things, and the effects go beyond even this course. They develop a critical eye that maybe they didn't have before. We talk a lot at the college about developing critical thinking, and this is a class that helps them to develop critical thinking skills, even though I doubt that they realized that when they signed up for the class. They thought it was just going to be a web design class. They didn't realize there was more going on. uh, we also have put a great focus on practical things that people out in the business world do every day if they are in the user experience field. So there are jobs, and what I do the first day of class is I go to Monster and I go to other job boards and we search for user experience and we find postings, and I say, this job here, what they're listing out is exactly what we're learning in this class. They may have used a slightly different word, but they mean exactly the same thing that we're doing and that you'll be doing over the course of the semester. So I've listed out here on the overview what those sort of things are, like doing a card sort where you have people who are using the website sort pages that represent the information on the website into a new organization that makes sense to them, and really learn a lot about the language and how maybe they're interpreting what is on the website differently than how you understand it. And that leads to all sorts of changes. We create diagrams of websites. So I can show you what one of those looks like. And I have a lot of examples for students. I know that they, by and large, come in with no knowledge of this field. So I really provide for every one of the things that they do. I've got a sample for them to look at and follow as a guide when they do it for themselves. So there are 4 things they do as far as assignments. They do a competitive analysis of websites for a fictitious company that is starting up their own web presence. They do a card sort where they have to recruit subjects and have them sort cards to organize information. They diagram a website. That's the 3rd assignment. And last of all, they critique and they redesign the layout for an existing website. So to give you a sense of these, this is what a site diagram looks like, just to give you a sense of what students are doing in the class. This is a diagram of how the art fair website was set up. That would have been in 2012, so a previous semester, certainly. And then the students would not only diagram this out to understand how things are organized, but they would along the way also provide a written executive summary along with other parts of a report that would critique and suggest changes for improvement. That's where the critical thinking comes in. What didn't make sense? What could be done better and more intuitively on this website? And they really learn the website from having to diagram it. You don't know a site better than after you've diagrammed it. I tell them that they should know the site better than the website developer or maintainer knows the site, because they've been so deep in the details that they can't help but know it better than anyone else. They certainly gain a lot from this experience. They can think visually about relationships between pages. They start to just understand at a conceptual level how a site is put together and how you would navigate and flow through it. So there's a lot of great takeaways just from that alone. And in this course, it really is about learning concepts more than it is tools. With everything in this class, I tell the students they can use whatever program they want to use. I say, you don't have to buy anything. We will be learning a tool for creating diagrams like what you just saw, but you don't have to buy it. There's a trial version, or just use something else. I care more about the students learning, whether they're sketching on a piece of paper or on a whiteboard, how to do a diagram, than learning a specific piece of software, because the concepts are what are going to hold them in good stead in the future years, not that they know to click on this one menu and click on this one button, because software changes and where they go to work may be on something totally different than what I taught them on. So I want the takeaway to be the long term knowledge, not the short term, I learned this version of this program. You'll note up here that there's no textbook for this course. I'm probably unusual in this regard, but all the courses I teach, I don't have textbooks. And if there is one, it's just a recommendation, like sort of a resource, like, you can use this if you want to. It's never required. Partly it's because the world changes quickly and when it comes to web topics. Partly it's that I do this. This is who I am. This is what I do. I've done this material professionally for at this point, 14 years. So, I draw upon what I know. I draw upon what is being done currently in the industry, and that's what I teach students. So, no textbook ever really does that for me. I find a textbook that covers a third of what we talk about. So they have to get multiple textbooks to cover everything, and then the textbook's old or just wouldn't explain it how I would explain it, because maybe it's using uh, different language that no one else uses. That happens sometimes. And so I find it's actually better just to say, I'll write my own lectures and deliver those in the class. I provide the students with a class schedule, and each day of the class, there's a schedule for the day and the readings for the next class session. Going through here, a typical day is kind of that way: schedule, readings. Eventually, you get to things where it's things that are due that day. So, due at the start of class is one of the assignments. Schedule for the day, and then what's coming up next. So, kind of like what to do as you come in, get yourself ready to turn that in, what we're going to do that day, and then what to do, getting ready for the next week. And there's in-class lab activities. A typical class session is usually some lecture, a break, and then lab time for them to apply what we've been talking about. And as homework start to come in or as they're assigned, there's always a chunk of time, maybe 15, 20, 25 minutes at the start of class, where they ask me questions and we talk about the sort of things they're finding and how to resolve those. And so we always have some time as the semester progresses to really talk about what's on their minds and what things they need to be, aware of, maybe for the current assignment, something that's arisen that I've just noticed about the site they're diagramming, maybe, and it's a good way to share information, in that way. I give the students recommendations for success. I've taught these classes for many years. The classes always evolve, but over the years, I've certainly picked up a lot of things that I recommend. And this user experience course is heavy on writing. There's a lot of writing in it, and it's not an English class. They have to be college level in reading and writing to take the course. But beyond that, many of them are surprised by how much writing there is. But if you're doing critique and analysis, oftentimes that is going to involve writing. So I provide an example for them to use as a guide and to really know where to start. And then I give them very detailed criteria for what they need to do as far as what I'm looking for and how to structure the document and so on. So I give them advice on how to approach these deliverables. Deliverable is essentially the industry term for something that you're going to provide to a client. The only difference here is that they're not getting paid for it. They're paying for the opportunity to create the work versus in the real world, outside of the college environment, an industry being paid by someone else to deliver something. And then, of course, we have some exams to measure the book knowledge in the sense of measuring the attainment of concepts and the mastery of those concepts in a more sort of traditional essay format, where they're doing long essays where they're talking about how they would approach different scenarios. Even with that, I tell the students that on a given essay, there's not necessarily a one right answer. There are multiple ways to approach answering it. And as long as you make a really good case and a solid argument for how you would approach the problem in the essay question, you can all get, perfect scores on that. I want to see that they're able to apply the things from class correctly and choose a strategy that will get them to the end goal. Because in web design, it's always trade-offs, and there's never just one way to do it. There are always many ways to do it, and it's a question of trading off pros and cons and finding an approach that frankly is going to get the job done out of many possible approaches. So that kind of gives you again a sense of this class and what it's about. This is the first of 3 classes. This course focuses on one set of topics for user experience. There's a user experience 2 class, which involves group projects where students are working in pairs. And they're tackling different assignments and different, just bigger scale things. And there's even a user experience 3 class where students are back to individual work, but they're actually starting from scratch and designing things. They're not just critiquing, they're actually creating. In many ways, these 3 courses do follow Bloom's taxonomy in the sense that the first course is look at what exists and document what's there and do some critique. That's higher level. The second course is really full on critique and recommend how will this be better? How do we fix this? So the next level course, user experience 2, is moving into the really big challenge for these students of, okay, I know it's a problem, but what do we do to fix it? That's why they have a partner. They have someone else they can talk to about it beyond me. And then the last one, they're back to individual work, but I give them a framework of what this thing has to do. Maybe they're designing a website or web application. They actually have to design it and figure out really how they are going to, from just a very basic set of requirements, how it's all going to come together. And they write up documentation that is appropriate to what you would do in industry and what you would give to a programmer to actually implement what it is you've designed. And so that's really that again, that's the biggest challenge for them, because now it's just, oh, I got to start from nothing basically, and I have to just start from this bullet point list of things it has to do, and I've got all this freedom. And so it's a really it's a challenge for them, but they're ready by the time they climb the mountain and get to designing user experience 3. I think they feel like they've climbed a mountain when they get to the end of that process. And so that's just again a sort of an overview of these courses with again a biggest focus on user experience 1. Um, so I think that's it. Thanks for listening.